Beshem Hashem Naseh v'Natzliach. We're learning tonight on Parashat Acharei Mot, Vayikra Parashat Acharei Mot, from Sefer Netivot Shalom. The pasuk that says, "Et mishpatai ta'asu v'et chochotai tishmeru," that speaking to Bnei Israel that you should do my mishpatim, you should do my laws, and you should keep my laws, chochotai, that are more of the unexplained reasons among the laws, statute. که معصه ارس مصرعیم عشه یشفتم با لو تعصو. Do not imitate what the Egyptians did, where you settled there, and their deeds do not imitate from them. وکه معصه ارس کنعان عشه عنی موی اتخم, and do not do what the Canaanim will do, that when Hashem bring you over there. לא תעשו. את משפטי תעשו ואת בחוקותי תשמרו ללכת בהם אני השם אלוקיכם. That you should do my laws and follow and keep them, because I am your Hashem, your creator. ושמעתם את חוקותי ואת משפטי אשר יעשה אותם האדם וחי בהם אני השם. That you should keep my laws, and you should do them, and you should live by them. Ani Hashem, I am your God. המפרשים הכשו על מה שנכפה לפסוק שני פעמים. So the commentaries have a problem. Why this pasuk has to repeat itself two times? Let mishpatai ta'asu v'et chochotai tishmeru, that you should keep my laws, and you should do my laws, and you should keep my laws. Ushmatem et chochotai v'et mishpatai, and again it says ushmatem et chochotai v'et mishpatai. So you see a double lashon, you see a repetition. V'chen hiksha al shinui seder hapesukim, and there is a difficulty question on the change of the pesukim. שבפעם ראשון כתוב קודם משפטים. In the first pasuk, the first time, first it says משפטים, ואחר כך חוקות, and then it says חוקות. ופסוק השני מקדים חוקות למשפטים. And in the second pasuk, the following pasuk precedes the חוקות to the משפטים. Ken sarich biur, so this requires clarification and explanation. Ma inyan azara. What is this? Azara is like the warning, exactly. Ushmatem et chochotai, that you should keep my laws. Ve'et mishpatai asher ya'asotam, and that you should do my mishpatai, my laws. Ha'adam, that a person should do v'chai b'hem, and he should live by them. Shehi azhara al kelalot qayem ha'misvot. Qiyum. This is the warning on the keeping of the general keeping of the misvot. The parasha zo ha'osechet be'inyan arayot. This parasha also talks about the inyan of arayot modesty. וכן בעניין על זה עבודה זרה ומעזרך לא תיתן לעבר למולך. That you should not let your that you should not allow your kids to go and do the acts of avodah zarah and to follow them, the idol worshippers. והעניין כדאית בספרי הקודש שחליפת מצרים הייתה ערוות הארץ. So this concept is brought down in the holy books, that there was a certain impurity, kilipa, other shell in Egypt, right? That hayta ervat hares shahayu shetufe zima, which was the acts of zenut, right? Immodesty, immodestly. Yachad imze haita sham gam kelipat avodazara. Also, included in this, there was idol worshipping inside of the avodazara and immodesty and adultery inside of that.
In the immodesty, there was also.
So yes, so they were both hand in hand. Vegelipat eres Canaan haita avodazara, and the other shell of the impurity of the Canaan also was idol worshipping. Kedeita, as it's brought down in Masachet Avodazara, Mem He Amud Bet, page Mem He Amud Bet, Shelo Haya Sham Har or Giv'ah Shelo Avdu Alehem Avodazara. Wow, that in Eretz Canaan, which is Eretz Israel, there was no single mountain or any high place, hill, right? That it was not used for idol worshipping. Vegam hayta sham qelipa shel shetufei zima, and also over there was adultery in many locations of it. V'hayinu shebeshenei hamekomot omnam hayu shenei gelipot. So there were a similarity between these two countries, Egypt and Eretz Canaan, which is our land, Eretz Israel. Later on, it became
the Canaan people.
Yeah, but it's talking about Canaan, Eretz Canaan, not the people only. Obviously, they used the people over there before Jews moved in. They used Eretz Canaan, which future became Eretz Israel. They used that for all sorts of bad things.
Correct.
But there was a difference. That what was the main qelipa, main source of tum'ah and impurity? That in one of them would contribute to the second impurity. So that from that impurity would come out the second bad thing. Hayot shebe inyanim elu, in the shete inyanim elu teluim ze baze v'achal moshe kedasheni, that both of these countries and people and what they did, they had one caused the other one.
One pulls the other one.
Exactly. Poshech, like it caused it was the reason for the other avera for the other sin to come about. Obe Misraim hayesod haya shetufei zima umiza nimshach avodazara. In Egypt, the yesod, the main thing of the impurity was that it was zima, immodesty. Right. And after that, it in the result, after alongside the adultery came idol worshipping. Exactly. Ve'elo be'eretz Canaan haya igar avodazara. However, in Eretz Canaan, in Eretz Israel, the main sin was avodazara, idol worshipping, and it brought side by side the note afterwards. Ve'ineh gelipat Misraim ha'igarit shel shetufei zima. He min hadevarim shenifshu shel adam ma'amidatan vehi inyan shel techunat hanefesh. That in Egypt, the tekonet hanefesh, in Egypt, the main destruction was the destruction of immodesty.
Of the nefesh, the soul.
Of the immodesty which came upon nefesh of the Adam, soul of Adam, and it caused them to do averot. Ve'ilo avodazara ha'kelipa ha'igarit shel Eretz Canaan. And if, as we mentioned, right, avodazara, idol worshipping, was the main sin in the Eretz Canaan, he bebechinat chok. This is in the category of the chok. In other words, they did it without understanding why they did it. There was like a chok that you don't understand the reason behind it. So too, they did it as a statue. וכשם שבקדושה יש חוגים בלי טעם, and just like in the holiness there are, chogim, there are statutes without reason. We follow those statutes and we do the laws, even though that they don't make sense to us. כך יש להפך בטומאה. So too there is such a concept that people do sins even though it doesn't make sense to them. They get themselves into impurity even though that it doesn't make any sense to them. Kol inyane avodah zarah, all of those areas of idol worshipping and the types of it, es ve'even, wood and stone, u'ba'al peor, and the idol of Baal peor. Mezarecha lo titen na'avil lemolech. Do not allow that your children, your offsprings, would follow those same mistakes. Kulam bebechinat chogim. All of them were statues of the chogim that she'en lahem habina al pi shekol unshe ella ze. So that
all the people come from the Sitra Achra.
Right, exactly. So another was, this caused many impurity to come. This was the source of many impurity. And in the light of this, there is an answer that Pesukim say, Ed mishpatai ta'asu, that you should follow my laws. Shenemeru b'hakdama leparasha zu, that it says in the earlier in the parasha of Acharei Mot, ki shnei inyanim elu avodah zarah v'ayerot hem hapegamim hakashim beyoter, that both of these things, avodah zarah and arayot, these are what could damage very much the soul. These are very bad, damaging sins. ולמדדת התורתנו הקדושה שהקדוש ברוך הוא ברא מזור ותרופה לכל המחלות ולכל מחלות ולכל הפגמים החמורים ביותר. And it is brought down that Hashem tells us that from these two things many other branches of sins would grow. Another was avodah zarah and zenut are the source of many other further sins in one's life.
Right, but Hashem created the refuah, the healing before the sickness.
Right, we're gonna get to that. Right, Vezehu pirush et mishpatai ta'asu, and that's the explanation of that you should do my laws, ve'et chogotai tishmeru, and that you should keep my statutes. Kemo shepirush Rashi, as the Rashi explanations on the Torah explains, bazeh hamishpatim hem devarim שבשכל מבינים שכך צריך לעשות ואפילו אם לא נאמרו בתורה היו יודעים אותם. That even if Torah would have not said that you should do these, you should keep the laws of the Torah, right? One should have figured out that that's the only way of success. Right? וחוקות הם דברים שאין להם הבנה, right? And these chokot, these are the unexplainable, it's hard to understand the reason behind it. These are laws that there is no bina to it. In other words, our understanding would not be enough to understand those. Al pi shekol ele hem gezarat melech. All of these laws are the gezerot, are the decrees of the king. Chok beli ta'am. These are laws that we don't know the reasons, without any reasons. Upesuk ze et mishpatai ta'asu vet chochotai tishmeru. And this pasuk that we just mentioned, shagdim mishpatim lechochot, that brings mishpatim before the chochot. Ne'emar keneged kelipat Mitzrayim. This refers against the kelipat, the impurity of the shell of the outside which existed in Egypt. שהקליפה השורשת שלהם היא עניין זה, עניין של תכונת הנפש. That the source of this kalipa, this impurity, right, it was from the soul, from the inner soul. ומן הדברים שנפשו שנפשו של אדם מחמדתן.
These are the desires and the the lust, I guess is the word, that cause destruction to the soul.
To the soul.
That's it.
ובחינת דבר המובן בשכל, of that which we can understand with the intellect, וכנגד זה נתן הקדוש ברוך הוא תרופה. And corresponding to this, Hashem gives us a cure, right? Umazur et mishpatai ta'asu, and that is that when you keep my laws, then you could defeat these Yetzer Haras, the evil inclination and the lust of Avodah Zarah and adultery. ואחר כך נאמר, and after that it says, חורותיי כנגד קליפת הנמשכת של עבודה זרה. That chorotai are against the impurity that comes out from Avodah Zarah. She'en la havana, that there is no understanding to that. Ve'ilu hapasuk hashani ushmatem et chorotai ve'et mishpatai ne'emar keneged kelipat eretz Kenan. Right? And if this pasuk, the second pasuk that says ushmatem et chorotai ve'et mishpatai, is referring to the Kalipa and the impurity that existed in Eretz Canaan, Lachen kan magdim techila ushmatem et chorotai shehu keneged igar hakalipa shehi avodah zarah. So that's why it comes to tell us that you need to keep my laws. In other words, the only way to defeat avodah zarah is doing the laws of Hashem, even though that you don't understand why. And for them it says first do the laws even though that you don't understand, and after that it says keep my laws that you understand. That would take care of the adultery. ותורתנו הקדושה מלמדת לנו, that our holy Torah teaches us כי שמירת החוקים והמשפטים, that keeping of the laws and the statutes and laws, המה מזור ותרופה לכל סוגי המחלות והרוחניות. That is what could come to help us with all sorts of problems, whether and soul problems, ruchniyot, right? And obviously when the soul is sick, a person gets sick also. Right. There is a connection to that. Physical sickness has a connection to the spiritual sickness. כולל שתי קליפות של כמעשה ארץ מצרים וכמעשה ארץ כנען שהם אני אבי אבות הטומאה. So the fathers of the impurity are these two things, that as we mentioned in Egypt and in also Canaan, both of them were existent. They were idol worshipping and adultery. ולכן ציווה הקדוש ברוך הוא את ישראל, and therefore Hashem commands the Jews לפני יציאת מצרים, right before they leaving Egypt, al dam Pesach v'dam milah, that they should make sure to do Korban Pesach, the sacrifice of the Pesach, and also they need to give circumcision and get the blood of the circumcision out. She'al ze ne'emar, that in Yechazkel Tet Zayin it says, V'avor alecha v'alech mitprocesses v'damaich. V'avor alecha v'alech mitprocesses v'damaich. But because of the your bloods, dam Pesach v'dam Milah. That pasuk in Yechazkel refers to two bloods. One dam Pesach and one dam Milah. Dam Pesach who keneged Yesera the Avodah Zarah.
Right, Yetzirah. It created.
Right. So Dam Pesach was created or was the cure against Avodah Zarah. Wow, that's beautiful. Ki Dam Pesach inyano ha'emunah b'hashkachat haboreh. That Dam Pesach refers to Hashem's divine believe into Him, right? That you need to believe Him, and that He has hashkacha, that He has control on all the creation, that everything Hashem is in charge of it. Kema dichtiv et asher Pesach et batei avotenu b'Mitzrayim b'negvo et Mitzrayim be'et batenu hasil. Hisil, as it says in the pasuk, that Hashem passed over of the houses of our fathers in Egypt, and then He saved us. In other words, of the Jewish homes He passed over, and of those who had to be punished, killed, referring to the Bechorei Egyptians of the firstborns, Hashem killed them, and the rest Hashem rescued. V'dam Milah hu keneged Yesera harayot. And the blood of circumcision is coming to help us, corresponding to the evil inclination of adultery. V'HaKadosh Baruch Hu tziva et Israel, and Hashem commanded the Jews shelifnei yetziat Mitzrayim, before they got out of Egypt, yekimu shenei inyanim, that they should keep these two things, elu shehem hakoach keneged hachalipah shel kemaaseh eretz Mitzrayim ukemaaseh eretz Canaan. That if they do both of these things, then they can bring relief to all that bad influence of Egypt, and also to defeat the Avodah Zarah and Zenut of the Eretz Canaan that they're gonna go into.
Sure, it's the people, the Canaanites, not
of course, but we see that whenever people leave, it also influences the place of the living. So Jews had to go, as we see in the Torah, that they had to destroy trees, Asherah trees. They had to destroy many things, right, to make sure that all of those bad influence is burnt out and destroyed. So even though that Eretz Israel is holy, but for that amount of time that these Canaanim lived there, they influenced even Eretz Israel. So even though that Jews go in it and defeat the enemies, still it would influence them. So they need to have these two mitzvot to destroy all of bad influences that they left on the place. Right? And that was also another reason that they have to destroy the homes. Right? They had to destroy the homes, and the homes would get sarat, and they had to destroy it. And when they destroyed the homes, many times they would be rewarded. The reward was the jewelries that the Canaanim hid there in behind the bricks. Vezeu ma shenemar ve'avor alecha ve'arver mitosesas v'ramayich. This is what pasuk refers to. כי אי אפשר להשיג שני עניינים אלו רק על ידי השופכים עליהם דם ומתייגעים עליהם במסירות נפש. That just like by these two things, there has to be blood, and there has to be self-sacrifice of the bringing of the korban in Egypt, where they worship the goats and those animals was something very impossible. It was their god. Right. Nevertheless, Jews did it. They put their life into danger. Also, circumcision while traveling was something that was dangerous. Nevertheless, they did it. They did it with mesirat nefesh, with lots of self-sacrifice. ובכדי להגיע להעבירות באמונה צריך יהודי להתקיים במסירת הנפש. So in order that a person would reach to highest levels of trust, the belief to Hashem, a Yehudi, a Jew, needs to do mesirat nefesh. וכן חידושת ארץ ישראל, להשיג בלתי ארץ ישראל, ארץ על ידי. Once again, וכן חידושת ארץ ישראל, and also the holiness of Eretz Israel, להשיג would be reached when there was no avodah zarah, right? And with mesirat nefesh. In other words, where there was mesirat nefesh, that was one of the tools of defeating avodah zarah. Al yedei avodah zarah. That by mesirat nefesh you could avoid avodah zarah and adultery. כמאמר מרן הספרי קודש מלקוביץ זכר צדיק לברכה, יסוד סיומה דגופה להשיג מידת יסוד צריך לעשות סוף וסיום לגוף. Right? So let's see. So that in order a person would defeat his Yetzer Hara, bodily Yetzer Hara, right, of the Ta'ava, he had to stop what he was and complete his body. So the completion of body would become possible through Brit Milah. Right. Vezehu inyan shete hamitzvot. These are the explanation of the two mitzvot. Shenitavu aleihem Israel, that Jews were called upon that they should do. Dam Pesach v'dam Milah. שכוחם של שני עניינים אלו הוא על ידי שישראל מקיימים אותם במסירות נפש. That the only way a Jew would be able to defeat the Yetzer Hara of avodah zarah, idol worshipping, and the Yetzer Hara of adultery was by keeping the laws and doing mesirat nefesh, doing a self-sacrifice, and that was to put his life into danger, some sort of danger, right? As we know, the law is that the halacha is that a person would not give up his life unless if he is threatened to do three sins, capital sins, and they are idol worshipping. If somebody points a gun to a person, says either bow down to the idol or I kill you, a Jew should be killed and not bow down. The second thing is for the man, if a man is forced to do zenut, adultery, and he is threatened to be killed, he should give up his life and not do the zenut. Okay? And the third thing is shefichot damim, that if a Jew is forced to kill another Jew, he should give up his life and not kill another Jew. Right? So other than that, other mitzvot, we need to do mesirat nefesh, which means you sacrifice up to life, not including life, up to life. Right? ואומר לך בדמי חיי ואומר לך בדמי חיי. Right? And it says that you live with your blood, הפירוש הדברים שנאמר כען בסיום הפסוק ושמרתם את חוקותיי ואת משפטיי אשר יעשה אותם האדם וחי בהם. So what is the explanation in the end of the pasuk that it says that you should keep and do my mitzvot and live by them? Shalom asinu Shalom asenu ken b'sha'ar ha'mekomot, that we do not find this concept by other places in the Torah. Siyum kazeh asher yaseh otam ha'adam v'chai bahem. That this is the only place that says completion is that you should live by them. הפירוש בזה כי הגורם לכך שאדם שאדם מעבד את החיות בתורה ובעבודה ובשבתות ובכל דבר שבקדושה מחמד שני פגמים אלו. That for all of these things a person should self-sacrifice for the learning of the Torah, for the continuity of Torah, for services and for keeping of the Shabbat. He should do lots of self-sacrifice because they come to help us for the two pegamim. They come to help us against the adultery and idol worshipping. אך אם תשמרו את חוקותיי ואת משפטיי אז וחי בהם. That the only way a person would live a true life is when he follows the laws and he keeps the laws of the Torah. אם תיקחו את המזור והתרופה לשני פגמים אלו וחי בהם, שכאשר מגיע לדבר שבקדושה הראיו מלא חיות ובחינת כי הם חיינו. That if a person comes and he involves himself with this holiness of the mitzvot, then that gives him life, and that is the actual definition of living. וזהו פירוש בדמי חיי. This is the explanation of the first part of the pasuk, that you live with your blood. על ידי שמשיג שני עניינים אלו בדמי חיי, הרמז מקור לחיות. That when you keep these two things, in other words, you keep two things. One is, but nowadays we don't have Korban Pesach. Circumcision and Korban Pesach are similar to them, as we mentioned above. When a Jew keeps Shabbat, right? When a Jew Shabbat and all the holy things, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and helps him against the two things that are the source of the impurity.
When you give them against our life.
Right. Alright.
וזהו
פירוש בדמי חיי, and that's the explanation of living with your blood. Okay. והרז מקור החיות, and that's the source of the living. כמה דאמר שכל המצוות בלא דחיילו ורחימו הם כגוף בלא נשמה. That life could be without soul if there is no mitzvot. והיינו שדחילו ורחימו הם החיות של כל המצוות. And that is that which it says.
These are the life of all the mitzvot.
Right. These are the soul and the life of all the mitzvot. ועל כן, right, קודם פרשת עריות ועבודה זרה נאמר הפסוק וחי בהם. Right before this portion of adultery and idol worshipping, this pasuk of you should live by them comes. כי שמירת שני עניינים אלו that keeping of these two things are the main source of their life. So from here, to make it short, it comes to tell us that we should not repeat what Jews did in Egypt. We should not follow what Egyptians did. We should not follow what Canaanim did, and that was adultery and idol worshipping. And the only way a person could achieve that nowadays is by keeping the Torah laws and doing them and keeping them, even though that he might not understand certain mitzvot. Nevertheless, he needs to follow and follow those laws. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen.